Hi guys, welcome to this module on Microsoft Project. We're going to look at customizing columns and using functions and then creating our own table. So first of all, customizing columns. Just going to right click on any column heading and go into custom fields. There are several different types of fields that I could custom or customize. Text, there are 30 text columns. There's cost, date, duration, and all these other ones as you can see there. But I'm just going to customize 3 text fields, and the first one I'm going to do is one called manager responsible. So what I want to do with this one is create a lookup list from this button, lookup. I'm going to type 3 people's names, Mr. Black, and I'm going to put his phone number there, 123, and then in the next one down I'm going to do Miss White, and in the description column I'm going to put the phone number there, and then Mr. Green, and again I'll put the phone number next to him just so you can see how that looks in the column. Close that box, click OK to that. So there it is, it's called manager responsible or text 1. Click OK again, and then I just need to insert that column. So insert column, column is text 1 or manager responsible, and then I should have a drop down list. Now if I just select a couple of these people, so Mr. Black, so if I select Mr. Black, you can see the extension number because it was in the same column. However, Miss White, her number can only be seen when you select the drop down list. So it's totally up to you where you put these phone numbers in this example. But I would normally just put that on the top level task. So if there is an issue with these tasks, you contact Mr. Black on extension 123. So this is not a resource, this is just somebody to contact if there's something going wrong with this process. So that's the first one. Second one, custom fields, text 2, going to rename that as budget status. And I'm going to use a function. So from the formula option, function, and I want general, and I want the IIF or if statement, and I'm just going to do a little if statement in here, which is going to be, now I could type these things out, but basically I want to know if actual cost, if I click on actual cost, is greater than the baseline cost, baseline cost, and then the first baseline cost. If that's true, we are over budget. You have to put that inside quotes, then a comma, open quotes again, otherwise we are within budget. Close quotes, just check that. Things that happen here that go wrong are people forget the quotes or the commas. That looks okay, so clicking OK to that, and OK again. And then same process, right click, insert column, type in T for text, and I want text 2, budget status. And then you can see I'm over budget on a few of these and within budget on others. Now I want to edit this a little bit more, because instead of saying over budget or within budget, I want it to show a red face or a green face if we are within budget. So I'm just going back into custom fields, select budget status and click this option at the bottom which says graphical indicators, and then select equals. So if it's within budget, so you have to type that exactly the same as you did in the function, otherwise it won't work. So if we're within budget, I want a green smiley face, and then if we're over budget, I want a red face. And you could pick any one of these icons if you didn't like the faces red. Click OK to that, OK again, and they have now changed. So that's looking quite sad. Now if I get one more, custom fields, and rename this one days left, I want to use a function again to show how many days left there are to the end of a task. So I'm going to the date time option and I'm going to date diff at the top. I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff in the middle. So the interval is the duration, so I'm going to put D for days in quotes. So days between now, and I'm using a function now which is the computer clock, and the finish, the field date finish. How many days are there between now and the finish of a task? Click OK to that, OK again, insert the column, right click, insert column, type T for text, days left, text 3, and then it gives you how many days left there are. Now they're showing minus numbers because today's date is past these dates, so these have already gone past. But if I change the start date of the project or move it all forward to today, you can see some of these that have not been completed have now got a positive number. Now I want to save this table as a table to be used later on, so I can go to tables, view tables, save fields in a new table, and then call it my name, Steve. Then OK, I've already got one, so I'll have to put Steve 1. OK on that one, and now I've got Steve, which is one I did earlier, which is just those two columns, and then I've got Steve 1, which has got my customized fields in. So that's how you use the customized fields feature and how you can create a table of your own. Now, I can obviously go back to the entry table and delete these 3 columns or hide them, and if I want to go click on Steve 1, they come back. That's the end of this module. Thank you for your time. In this module, I want to talk about the budget resources. So first of all, I've got a project plan here, software implementation. What you need to do is go onto the resource sheet and create your budget resources. So I'll call this first budget resource project allowance. Project allowance, spell it out. And I'll set it to a cost field, and then I'll double click on it and make it into a budget field. So this is what you need to do, budget. Now OK, back to the Gantt chart. Now with the budget field, you can only allocate a budget field if I go to resources, assign resources, project allowance, grayed out. None of these are available. You can't allocate that to any of these. The only field you can allocate a budget field to is a project summary task. Now on the task tab you have summary there, but that is not what this is about. That's the same as that, and you saw there you can't allocate it. What you need to do is go to format and select this project summary task. Now once you click on that, you'll notice that now this is active. I can assign it like that. So I've assigned the resource. Now if I close that and go to task usage, what you have there is the project allowance field, and what I need to do is insert a column so I can put some figures in there. So if I go budget cost field, that one comes up with 0. So if I put 10,000 in there, so that's the budget we've got for this project. And then if I go back to my Gantt chart, now I've sorted that out. Now if I change this over to this table over to the cost table, because I want to do something here, I can't see that there at the moment, but I can add that column. So budget cost, so there's your 10,000 cost. Now that's a summary of the whole project. So what you've got underneath is all these tasks here, and you can actually create a column, which I will do, a cost column, and have a budget, sort of mini budget for each of these. And then I'm going to create a formula to work out how much left I've got. So just let's go into custom fields, and I need cost. So cost 1 I'm going to rename as task allowance, and 2 I'm going to rename that as money remaining, or money left. No, I won't call it, I'll call it balance. I think I can use balance. So the balance is going to be a formula field that's going to look at the task allowance. So formula, so it's going to be cost, actual cost, so the actual spend, minus field cost, custom cost, whatever that is there, cost 1. So actual cost minus task allowance, spelt wrong, terrible. Okay. Just rename that, I might have to change that. MCE, let's just go back to the formula on this one, just to double check that. Yeah, cost 1's okay. Okay, so now I need to insert the cost columns. So cost 1, which is task allowance, and then just move that over a bit, and then cost 2, which is balance. So you've got, let's not spent anything there, have I? So let's say you had £2,000 for that task. You've gone over, balance is minus 70. So this field's the wrong way around, isn't it? So let's go back into this custom fields. So I need to change that the other way around. So it needs to be cost 1 minus actual. So cost 1, I did that on purpose. Custom cost, so I could show you how to do it twice. Cost 1 minus actual cost. Okay. Then we've got a minus figure there because you didn't have any budget. So these figures you're putting in here cannot exceed the budget cost at the top there. So let's say you had £2,000 for this field. So you're within budget on both of those. And on this one, let's say you had £500 and then £500 and then 2,000, and then 1,000. So that should add up to 10,000. You haven't got any. They're milestones at the bottom. In fact, one of these is a milestone actually, so I've put complete, so that wouldn't be on there. So just delete that. Put that to 1,000. Okay, so now these are just custom fields, and you can do as many of these as you want. But that was the budget cost field. And remember, I went into resources, added a field cost, and then I set it to budget. Now you could also do one for work, and that would be hours. So if you had that, it would sit up here and you would be putting hours in as opposed to cost in. But that's a budget field, and that has to go on the project summary task, which you get from the format menu at the top there, project summary task. And then these custom fields you can play around with and get them wrong like I did as much as you like. But that's all I wanted to show you in this little session. These budget costs, get asked that quite a lot. How does that work? It's quite confusing if you don't understand that you have to do on this sort of task, otherwise it doesn't work. But that's the end of this session. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. In this session, I want to have a look at how you create custom fields. So on the screen at the moment, in the table that you can see, there are 3 columns with custom fields: completion status, a delayed start column, and a delayed finish column. So basically this one has got graphical indicators showing you green for completion, and amber if there was any amber for between 25 and 75%, and then red for less than 25, and then for anything that's not started, this little dash. Now the delayed column, the first task was on time, but everything else was delayed. There's a formula in there which I'll show you how to do in a second. And then this one, everything delayed finish, everything was delayed except the first one and this one, because even though the start was delayed, time was picked up and it actually did finish on time. So there's a statement in there, an if statement in there showing you how to do that. So to create these, you basically need to go into custom fields or custom fields at the bottom there. I just need to delete these ones that's already there, and then we'll just recreate them. And so the first one was completion status. You can call it whatever you want as long as you don't use a name that's already used. And then the formula that I need to put into that column is from the functions option in general. It's this one, IIF, immediate if. It means basically you have an expression and then something to do if it's true, and then something to do if it's false. So the one that we're going to create is going to be slightly more complicated than that, but I'm just going to get rid of all of that. And what I want to use as my trigger for the if statement is the percentage complete column, which is under number, percentage complete. So if the percentage complete equals 100, that means it's finished, comma, I want it to return a number 1, comma. Now I need to do another if statement. Normally you do a negative there, what to do if it's false, but you can do another if statement. So IIF, open the bracket, go get your field again, number. So if percentage complete is greater than or equals to 75, comma, that's going to be a 2, comma, and then another if statement, IIF, open the normal bracket, go and get the field. You can type the field in, but I like to click on it just in case I do a typo. So now it's going to be if that is greater than or equal to 25, comma, 3. And you can put whatever range you like. And then the last if statement, comma, IIF, open the bracket, get the field if it is greater than or equals to 0, comma, 4. Now there are 4 if statements, so I need 4 close brackets, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if there's a mistake, it will surely tell you. If I click OK to that, it tells you it's going to be changed over. There's no mistake. So now if I click OK, I get some numbers, which is great, but I don't want to see numbers. I want to see graphical indicators. So back into custom fields, that's selected still, graphical indicators at the bottom. So if it equals 1, I want the image to be a green circle. If it equals, I'm just typing E, if it equals 2, I want that to be a amber circle. If it equals 3, I want that to be a red circle. And if it equals 4, which means it's not started, I just want a dash. So that is just a little bit further down, a little red dash or whatever color you want. Now that should replace the numbers with those dashes. You can still hover over and it'll tell you the number that the if statement's returning. So there's no 2's coming back at the moment, so that's okay. Now that's that one, and they're all delivered or changed by the completion status. So if I go back onto this one, for example, and take it to 0, it gets the dash. 25, 50, 75 goes amber. And then it was on 100, so I'll put it back on 100. Now the next one, if I go back into there, it's gone like this because I've deleted it. It's actually got the information there still. So if I just go back into it, custom fields and formula. So what I'm going to do here is, before I go into custom fields and formula, let me just show you. I've saved this as a baseline 1, set baseline. So there's a baseline saved there, so I can measure against that baseline. So what I want to do now is any task that started later than the baseline planned start, I want it to say delayed. Otherwise it can say on time. So just cancel that off. Now back into customized fields. So this one is going to be delayed start. Delayed start. You can call it whatever you want. And then the formula is going to be another if statement. So general IIF. Get rid of all of this. And then, so date. So if actual start is greater than baseline start, so date baseline start, and I want the first baseline, that's the first baseline. So obviously if you're saving lots of baselines, you'd have to do additional columns for the additional baselines that you save. So if that is true, so if our actual start is greater than the baseline start, we are going to be delayed. So comma. Now to put a word or a phrase, you have to use quotes like that, comma. Now that's if it's greater than. So if it's equal to, I want it to be on time. So I can just put on time. So if it's greater than, it's going to say delayed. If it's not greater than, it's going to say on time. So I'll just put that on there. And again, you can add additional things on this one. I'm just going to keep it simple for now. We'll just click OK to that. OK again, and then OK. And then let's put those on time, on time. Now the finish one, if I go back into that one, custom fields, rename that as delayed finish. Now there may well be project fields that you can utilize to do the same sort of stuff, but I like to do my own little formulas. Then you know what they are actually doing. So if I go again and get an if statement, general if, get rid of all this. So this time we want the finish. So field date, if the baseline finish, in fact if actual finish first off is greater than the baseline finish, date baseline finish, the first one, if that's true, comma, we are delayed, a delayed task. So if actual finish is greater than the baseline finish, we are delayed, comma. Now you could do another if statement there, but again I'm going to keep this fairly simple. It's up to you. There is a limit on how many ifs you can do, and it gets a bit complicated, and you may well do typos, which causes a syntax error to come up. But if I just keep it simple for this, if I say if it's delayed or it's on time, again, just put the quotes around on time. And let's have a look at what this does. Click OK, OK, OK. So those three were on time. These are delayed. Now the reason that one's on time is because I actually changed the duration to 2 days actual. Now I did that not in this table, but if I just change this table on the view tab to show you that on the tracking table, the baseline duration, if I insert the baseline duration, So I want baseline duration, that one. So the baseline duration was 3 days, but it actually only took 2 days. That's how that came back and ended up finishing on time. So initially it would have finished a day late, but because the actual duration was reduced by 1 day, it finished on time, and that's why you need to have that if statement to pick that up. Now, because I've messed up the entry table, what I should really do with this is go to the View tab, Tables, and save fields in a new table, and I'll call this one Delayed Status. Okay, and then I can get rid of these three. In fact, let me just, before I get rid of them, let's go back to the entry, get rid of them from the entry table, just highlight them and delete them, so you've not messed up the entry table. And if you now need to get that table, you can just click on it and you've got those 3 customized columns back again, ready to go. And that's really how you should be doing things in projects anyhow. You create your own tables. I don't know what process is, so it's not relevant to this database. That one is, and then that one, don't know what that's doing. Okay, it's just a table of different columns that I've created. But delayed status makes more sense, process makes sense. That my nickname doesn't really make any sense. So you'd create the tables, and you can add columns, not just custom columns like I've done, but you could just create a table from scratch and just delete or add columns as you feel fit. And then you use this to get your information rather than trying to memorize which column is in which of these tables. And then obviously you've got all these other ones at the bottom as well. Okay guys, so that's the end of this session. Hopefully I'll see you on your next one. Thank you for your time. In this module we're going to look at how to send project data into an Excel file using the wizard. In a previous video I showed you how to use copy and paste special, but this one we're going to use the wizard. So first of all, File, Save As, select a location. Need to select Excel Workbook. The location is going to be the desktop, and then Save. That will start the wizard, and then I just go through the wizard selecting the options I require. So in this example I'm going to leave it on selected data. Next, I am going to create a new map, but thereafter I will use an existing map. Next, these tick boxes at the top basically would create a separate sheet in Excel for each of these. I just want to do it on tasks, so I'm leaving the tick on tasks and then selecting next. Now I can manually map fields across here from project to Excel, or I can use this option, which is the one I am going to use based on a table, and I want to do this on the cost table. So click OK, and then the cost table goes into this box, which is great. Follow it through. Next, save this map. I'll call this Steve 3. Save, and then finish. So that should have created an Excel file on my desktop, software implementation. Just open that. And then these numbers are not formatted, so quickly format these to number so that I can make those into pounds. And then what I like to do is this: highlight this data, because this process that I've just done, you could run that on a weekly basis or whatever time period you like. So I'm going to copy this and create a new file and use the paste special feature to link it into this second file. Paste link. The data comes in, make it into pounds, and then maybe do a small graph. Project totals at the bottom. Add up each column, and then just use those figures for my graph. So if I highlight the labels across the top, hold my control key down and highlight the labels, the figures across the bottom, and do a quick column graph. Move the graph over to the right, click on the label and link it to a cell, equals project totals, tick. And then on the graph itself, I like to format my graphs so they show it in black. There you go. Now if I save this file as update on the desktop, save that, and then just that figure there, £200, close, Control W, and close this one, save it, and then do the whole process again. But this time, if I add some extra resources, so there should be another cost there. Now if I flick this over to the cost table, which is the one we're using, you've got an extra £200 there. Now when I run this wizard again, I just need to select the table that we saved. Excel workbook, desktop, I want to overwrite that one, yes, and then follow the wizard through, but this time use existing map, next, Steve 3, finish. Now that should have gone across for open software implementation. There's the extra £200, highlight that, change the numbers back to pounds, like so, and then if I open the update file, that has already updated and you can see the graph and everything is already there. So if I close both of those two down, yep, back to project. What you can now do is save a macro or record a macro to do that process for you. So to create a macro, first off I'll just change this back so there's £200 disappears from there. You create a macro of yourself doing that process. So record macro, I'll call it output, and then OK. Now it's recording what I do, so I'll just go File, Save As again, Browse, select Excel Workbook, put it onto my desktop, click on that file, save. Yes, I do want to replace that. Follow the wizard through, existing map, Steve 3, finish. Stop the macro. So that is just recorded you doing those steps. What you now do is you add a button on the quick access toolbar, more commands, macros, output, take it across, give it a symbol if you so wish, so I'll give it a clock, OK, OK. So now what you should be able to do is click, replace the file, yeah, and then go down and open up software implementation, format it. You can see it's updated, it's took the 200 off, put that to pounds, and if I open update, update is updated. Like so. Now if I close all these down, Control W, Control W, yeah, and go back into project and add that back in, if I can select it. All I need to do now is click the button, say OK, job done. Minimize that, open up software implementation. There's the extra £200. Just change that back to number, and then open up update, and that should have picked it up, and it has picked it up, £200. That's the end of this module. So we've looked at how to use basic macros, how to use custom fields and create our own tables. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you for your time. This is exercise 4. In this exercise you need to create this little project, add that resource sheet and save a baseline. What you then need to do is create some custom fields. So you want a manager field, a budget status field, and on those fields you need to do these formulas, and this is just going to be a lookup. And then if I go further down, once you've done that, you need to create a new table, save it as your name, and add the following fields. Save the file into an Excel worksheet, use the wizard to create a new map. Once it's in Excel, you can just close everything down. And then the last thing is to record a macro to enter the following tasks. And then once you've done that, you've completed this section. This is the final exercise. First of all, you create a new project called floodplain. There's the tasks and there's the links. Then you do a resource sheet. Once you've done that, you can assign the resources, as you can see there, and level any over allocated resources. Select the leveling Gantt view to see any changes or movements that you can identify. Select task usage view to see the work hours change. Identify any weak areas. Task 3 is now 3 days because Dave Green is no longer working on the first day of the task to avoid over allocation. That's what the leveling did. Use the View Tables feature to see costs in the Gantt window. Set a must finish constraint on the start building process for 14 days time. Change the link between start building process and order materials tasks so that there is a 1-day lag. And come down again. Select the critical path option on the format menu. Your whole project should be critical. Add the task names on the Gantt chart. If they disappear, you must select the critical option, bar styles box first. Insert a blank Excel spreadsheet into map floodplain. Create a new task as shown below, project review. Assign Sarah Marshall to the task and assign her a backloaded work contour. So you'll have to double click on her name to do that. Use the task usage view or resource usage view so you can do that one. The duration should not change, but her work hours will reduce. Save a baseline. Select the tracking Gantt and the tracking table. Insert the following columns, the start, finish and duration columns. So you know when it actually was planned to start, finish, and the duration it was planned. Position the columns next to the actual start and finish duration columns. Update the following tasks. Remove the constraints. Allocate funds and the map floodplain to 100% complete. Update identified weak areas to 50% complete. Set a status date from 2 weeks from now. Move the incomplete parts of identified weak areas to the status date. Run a dashboard and burn down. Go back up a bit. Run a dashboard and burn down report. Add a progress line at the status date. Use the format tab for that. Using the visual report option, run a resource work availability report in Excel. Close Excel after you've done that. Add the following lookup column. Use a text column. So this is customize columns. Insert the column. Save and close your file. Create a new project. Insert software implementation into and insert the flood defense. Create a summary task and indent the subprojects. Save the file as a master file and close it. Create a new project, call it resource pool. Add the following resources. Save and close your file. And then once you've done that, that is the end of the course. Any part of this that you can't remember, just go back over it have a look at the videos and see if you can pick up where this is being shown. But hopefully you've enjoyed the course. I'll thank you for your time and I'll see you on a different course.